welcome back to another video of what I'm going to be calling Lucid's Lessons. Today, from request by what I had mentioned before, we're going to try to talk a little bit about some setups, and along the way I'm going to be talking about some important nades, just some good nades to have to break setups, or just important key positions from where you could be standing on the map. I'm going to talk about just some very generic setups, what you see from a lot of high-level pro play. Our team, other teams, just the typical breakdowns, and just kind of talk about why. Usually, I would say it's pretty surface level. You can kind of tell why, but I'm going to explain it in a little bit further detail. And I might talk about some of the different game types, but a lot of these setups are going to still just apply through multiple different game types. So I started with Recharge because this map has very open sight lines for the vast majority of the middle of the map, as you can tell. That is why you really find people obviously standing top cat, top elevator, and as well as bottom elevator. You're very protected. You have pretty much the entirety of the middle of the map locked down, especially when you have people sitting top gold like you do. You just have that middle position locked down. And before I talk any further on the why, actually, I'm going to show off just the general positions that you probably want to be standing in and that you'll find people in, so that you have a better idea of where to throw your nades and where to look, like with pre-aim. So typically, you're probably going to have somebody standing maybe a little bit deeper back, because even standing further up, not really necessary. Maybe you'll actually get to have an angle on somebody sitting on like C stairs, mid-bridge sometimes, but most of the time, you get the job done standing far enough back so that you're not getting hit by nades from tower, and you still just have that middle of the map long haul angle locked down. Sometimes, too, you'll have people locking down the bottom elevator as well as top elevator, getting both angles and just that same sight line so they can get that team shot very quickly. Another important position typically is, again, you have this middle control. The middle of the map is very, very locked down. That's where you kind of have to move a lot of times to really get anything going. You're going to find people going long haul. You're going to find people going tower. And these angles provide cover from those positions from these people, because not all the time you don't really want to be standing top elevator and only watching this one doorway. You need to make sure that you're watching everything else. The same goes for this middle position. You want to make sure that you're getting a little active, trying to take some angles, watch the middle of the map. Sometimes you can even find people pushing up towards Needler a little bit to kind of watch this angle and watch top cat. So you just get multiple points of coverage from just this singular position. And typically you'll find people in gold. You'll see them watching the cross. You'll hear that a lot in comms when people are just saying, watch my cross. You're watching the cross angle. Cat watches gold. Gold watches cat, as well as tower. And now this entire map's covered up with people watching from multiple different angles. And people are typically going to be trapped behind these walls, long haul, back silo, C plat, and in tower. So there's a lot of coverage for everybody, both teams. However, this is where, again, Recharge can really slow down and get a little frustrating due to the nature of, somebody has a shock. They're just kind of watching these angles. They just get instant picks sometimes whenever you're just trying to poke. You're just trying to get any information. You're getting top gold, top glass. A guy pokes out, blames you. And alongside that, he has multiple people, 3 other people watching him the entire time, keeping all of his angles covered. And as I was saying, like the explanation, pretty simple. A lot of times you want to make sure you're covering the most open angles of the map. And then you just want to kind of take an angle every once in a while to kind of make sure that your back is clear, your side is clear, that has a little bit less coverage. Because even though, I'm watching his tower, I'm going to get back down sometimes. And the same with the guy top elevator. That guy's going to get back down. So these angles, like top glass, if I'm getting pushed from long haul, or gold stairs, are not going to be covered every single time. So you want to have these types of crosses locked in, throw your nades, watch, just keep the sight lines. But then if you're hearing like somebody else is taking damage, if you're getting locked into a fight or no fight and you're just waiting for somebody to poke, somebody else is going to poke somewhere else much closer to you. So you have to be a lot more aware of these positions. And as a person pushing, we can get into this aspect now, speaking on that nature of getting the push ready. When you are the person pushing, you can't just assume that you're available to go every time and just try to hit the curb slide or whatever you have at your availability to try to hit it instantly. You really can't just go out here. You really need to try to make sure that you are actually getting an effective shot down first, or effective information before you make that decision. That's why recharge can be very punishing of a map. If you have just one person out here at glass, and then he's getting shot by the guy that, like I mentioned before, is probably sitting in turbine, and then there's a guy top gold, and then he's trapped top glass, nades are coming his way. This guy that's sitting top gold can then just, he doesn't have to look across anymore. He's just going to throw one grenade and then push the guy out. He has coverage from his other teammates to push this guy out, free kill, and then once you're down numbers on this map, it's very tough. It's very, very tough. A lot of times, especially in the most competitive LAN environments, teams are not really going to be pushing. However, those moments still will happen. You're going to go down one person, two people in numbers. The other team might be ready to push at least a little bit, apply some pressure, then back down again. But if you are the player and the team coming off respawn, you need to do something. You got to get some information, got to get some shots. Make sure you're as close to full shield as possible and that you're saving your nades. Saving your nades are very, very important, and it's for these breakoff points. Nades have always been this important for Halo for this very reason, but especially on this map, when you're coming off respawn from silo a lot of times, all you have is a couple nades, a disruptor in long haul, and then a couple stickies, and then a repulsor. Now, those are pretty effective still, but you can't just be throwing your nades like willy-nilly, just trying to throw just random grenades all over the place, because now I'm going top gold, and if I was in an academy, I have no nades. If you're trying to push top glass, you really need like one good grenade here to back that guy down if you're ready to push, or throw that nade and then be ready to kind of challenge these angles I was talking about before. Top elevator, bottom elevator, maybe a guy in turbine as well. But it really is just an information game, because if you're feeding information about where these people are at, how much damage is being dealt, that leaves room for you to push or your other teammates to push. And it's never always going to be the guy top gold or top glass needs to always push, or the people top tower always need to push. Realistically, I would even say that long haul is kind of a bait of an angle. It can be very prosperous sometimes to hit this slide. Like, you get the information, or you just hear that no one's watching and people are distracting, you can get in. That happens. It does happen. I would say, especially at a higher level, that does not happen frequently enough at all, because you have your other teammates. Typically, what I like to do or see is, one or two people top tower, bottom tower, just kind of, again, watching the same angles. And then you want to use the middle of the map, because the only thing that's being watched really from those angles safely is the middle of the map. So as long as you back somebody down, you shoot the stickies, you back them down, you throw your own nade or your top tower as well, you back down the people close to you or across the map, you can just kind of sprint down the middle. And as long as you use your numbers effectively, both people in tower can push from top and bottom, sprint through, or if you're getting those cross angles, and again, both teams kind of have these cross angles, you then can just kind of push on through. If gold gets back down, you're not getting shot from that top gold commando angle. That is your time to push, and hopefully you're pushing with a teammate, because if you're alone going in here and there's no kills yet, you're going to probably have a bad time. Also, in that push, having somebody work the middle of the map is very important. They have a lot of leeway on where they can work. They can still be pretty safe hiding down here. If somebody's overstepping their position, top gold or bat ledge, sometimes they can afford to do that, especially when they have shock. They can maybe just poke and get a free kill. But whenever you're down here, you have a lot of room to be covered from multiple angles, and then you can kind of decide what fight you want to take. Again, a lot of times teams are going to be sitting down bottom elevator, so you can kind of get that damage down or sneak down here. This is a very effective sneaky position. You go up this way, you go up this way, you turn into turbine, or you can even decide that you want to go down, or go up rather, towards gold. Maybe even grab grapple, and then you can grapple in. And then once somebody gets through, especially if it's this quickly, when you're this safe and you're able to quickly get in like that, which doesn't happen a lot, especially at the higher level, that is when your team just needs to go. You got to meet up with your teammates. The guy that's top gold needs to try to probably shoot the people across, maybe back them down and try to get a push in, just to distract. Like, this guy that's out here in the open, he needs a distraction, because he's going to be the sort of hammer that breaks down the wall and break down the weakest link of what your team decides needs to happen. I'm going to show just a few important nades, or just some of them are going to be very general, obviously, but some of them are going to be even in just a couple different spots. Some things maybe you didn't realize to get some cheeky damage or some cheeky kills, to allow maybe a break to happen, or if people are playing a certain game type, it can help you quite a bit. I always like to throw some nades off the staircase, especially if people are top cat. You can throw these very deep, and banking them off the staircase, land right in that doorway, as I talked about before. Typically, that's why you don't want to be standing so close, because if you're standing so close, people don't even have to be standing in that doorway to bank a nade off the ground to hit you. They can be all the way back towards silo, and you're still getting hit by a grenade instantly. Bottom tower, general grenades you're throwing, save your nades. Make sure you're saving your nades for these types of moments. Get some free damage while you can, and be ready to make your push whenever you're saving your grenades. Be effective. Be very effective with your grenades. Just get them tossed out so that you can actually break the setup. Now, those are your obvious general grenades, just towards elevator if you're trying to push. If you're trying to throw some interesting grenades, or a little bit more interesting grenades across the map from top tower, obviously, general grenade, bank it off the wall right there, lands perfectly in on that bat ledge right there. Always a good nade to chuck, because people just happen to clamber up there quite a bit, very frequently. And I've gotten plenty of sticks just banking it off the wall. People clamber up. Easy. And one to throw top gold is you can throw off of this brick right here, and it'll just land right in that doorway. And you can kind of feel it out yourself of where you feel most comfortable throwing, depending on the position, because this even applies if somebody's standing in this corner that I'm shooting at. You can even get a grenade in that doorway. That's a little bit deeper, but as you saw before, these grenades can land very, very close to that corner. And if somebody's one-shot in that corner, that can be a death sentence for them. Now, if you're playing strongholds or people happen to find themselves on batteries, there's literally 4 grenades to throw. A couple very obvious for like back batteries. You just bank it off the wall. You bank it off this wall. A lot of times people are just, even just in that corner, it all works. Very general. And if you want to try to hit these front batteries, though, these are a little bit more difficult ones. You can bank it off this box from top tower, and the nade will land right behind that battery. Because if you try to throw the grenade a little short, like, it'll probably go quite a bit past. You can even bank it off the backside of these batteries, but they're not always standing up like that. So you don't really get that opportunity every single time. So using this box in the corner, you kind of have to bank it a little bit closer to this right side corner if you really want it to kind of curve around the back of the battery to get an effective hit. Because if you're throwing it too early, it'll just blow up in the front of the battery. And the same kind of goes with this battery on the right side. You want to bank it off this wall right here. If you throw a little too high, it'll go a little bit. This is pretty much after the nade update as well. It'll go a little too far. So you want to try to throw some nades a little bit lower. Get that nade right behind the battery that people are sitting. Taking the time to throw these grenades is, I would say, one of the most effective ways to make sure you get these kills. You know, watch it for a second. Don't always throw your grenades right away, because if you throw your grenades right away, sometimes people just sprint right away from their cover. So you want to kind of play that game of chicken for a moment, and then if you feel like you can get the opportunity, throw your nade, get right back on target. If you happen to be moving out of gold, trying to break a setup, there's a couple decent nades that you can throw right here. Say people are typically sitting on the triangle or top heaven as well. You can use this platform, this half wall that we've grown to call it, to get a good bank nade on this triangle position. A lot of times, even if you throw this grenade, it might at least force people to kind of push you. So you kind of have to be prepared for the push-off. You just need to make people uncomfortable. And then you can also, from this angle, throw a grenade towards top heaven, as long as you kind of stand off to the right side. And again, you want to try to make sure you're keeping yourself as covered as possible, but you can throw these from pretty deep. Nades aren't always just for dealing damage. You want people to move. You want them to feel uncomfortable. And that's just kind of that. So another good nade that you may have seen me throw and many others, other pro players have thrown, is whenever you're kind of pushing this a stronghold, you can get a good bank grenade plenty of times, depending on the angle. Any angle really is a good spot, because people are hiding behind this pillar plenty of times. And, you know, the nades are blowing up pretty close to right here, and if people are hiding a bit closer to cut that angle, those nades deal a lot of damage. If somebody happens to be sitting in that caution corner or the trippy corner, you can actually nade from multiple different regions of the map by throwing a grenade off of this brick as well up there. And as you see, the grenade actually blows up in that corner. So moving on back to the top tower, this kind of still applies. in the same way, this is a little bit harder of a grenade, but it really isn't that difficult. But you can throw the exact same grenade towards that caution corner from tower. I think you can even throw it a little bit more towards that corner right there. So you can be completely safe throwing the grenade into that corner from this position. A couple different grenades that you can throw towards top tower, because there's a lot of people that hide in these corners, and you're just trying to clear them out. So if somebody happens to be hiding on this commando right here, or even just still being in the left corner, you can actually throw a grenade at this wall. It is a corner. As long as you throw at that corner, it'll bounce straight back, as you can see right here. And if somebody's hiding in this corner and they're one shot, they're pretty much as good as dead. I think if that grenade's right there, it'll probably tickle the people a little bit. Yeah, you're still getting hit for, you know, a fifth of your shield, so not too much if you're in the other corner. However, it still just applies some pressure in that instance. And as well, you can throw a grenade off of this, and it'll bank right into the corner where somebody could be standing, as long as you're banking it off of this. The same thing can be applied in a similar sense to the left corner here. If somebody happens to be standing right here, you just bank it off of this this wall, this brick, the ceiling here, to just get the proper angle. From this bat ledge, another grenade that you can throw is from this corner for the blue box, landing right there. Or, even better, I had found recently, is you can just bank it off of that wall to land perfectly in that space. There's plenty of times where, again, you can throw a decent nade. That's a little too short. You can bank it off of the ground. However, I find that if I'm throwing grenades in this situation, sometimes things just don't work out. Like, as you can see, that grenade just doesn't really make it. It's bouncing away. It's probably not killing somebody that's one shot, that's hiding, like, just on the edge of that corner right there. And I find that if I throw this grenade right here, that's just like the perfect coverage that should hit somebody, at least make them poke out enough that you can shoot them as well. And you're still very, very safe from this position. Now, if somebody grabs camo, or they're working bottom mid for like a, you know, say a hill or something, and they find their way back to double stack, you can actually throw a couple different grenades that land right behind the double stack right here. And you can get one a little bit deeper if you look a little bit further out. It's not something I've practiced enough, but I'm going to try to start using a little bit more. But quite a very effective grenade. See, that one I think went actually behind it. So there's definitely some specific spots that can get you pretty far. And a lot of times when people are sitting down there, they are one shot. They are very, very weak. So again, you just want to cause some motion, cause some movement. This grenade as well actually is very effective for getting behind there. You have to be a little bit further out though, so you can throw it a little bit lower. And I would say that maybe you use this left wall to get behind the pillar, this one to kind of get towards the right side of the pillar. They just land perfectly right where people would typically be standing, probably dealing the maximum amount of damage. One more grenade that I just remembered as well that you can throw from turbine towards C-plat. This is more like a Hail Mary grenade. If you just think somebody's going to be sitting on that corner very close to that position on the C-boxes, which is a pretty common position as well from this turbine area that you can find with people sitting in this corner on the bottom gold stairs. Very, very common position. There are a couple of different angles rather than throwing, you know, people generally throw grenades at the ground. They're just banking low. This is probably the most consistent way to hopefully just catch somebody that's going to slip up. However, if you aim your grenade correctly from a couple different spots, this is getting close. I've had some get quite a bit closer, because these are kind of landing a little bit closer right here. However, you can see one landed a little bit closer to this corner. You can bank off of this brick again. So it's been a while, so forgive me for, you know, kind of forgetting some of these spots, because I haven't done this in a minute. But as you can see, there's a couple spots with this brick in particular that is very, very effective. And as you can see, there's a couple positions that just make this nade work very, very well. And even if you're standing right here, I think this angle might cut it. It does. If you're standing right here, you can bank it more so off of this darker gray here, and it just goes right into the corner. This is just pretty simple, can be overlooked a little bit. But if you happen to be looking from the C plat, pushing into tower, you can actually throw some decent nades off this wall through the window. And you can even get a little bit more specific with your nades, but there's a lot of geometry in this location. So finding this spot can be a little bit awkward. However, if you know, there's plenty of people that are hiding here, working the corners, and you're trying to get a flank from C plat. So if you're trying to get the jump on somebody, you can just kind of chuck these nades, push on in, and then, again, sometimes it might be a bit of a flip of a coin. That's why you want to aim almost a little bit more to the right over here. And you do need to be a bit wider, just so that you can get a more straight shot to land that grenade and have a very effective placement whenever you're trying to get that push in. All right, but I think that about sums up the sort of generic setups, as well as some nades, some basic tips on utilizing your nades and some nade spots. I hope this helped you guys. I'm really trying to make sure I keep it as concise as possible. There's probably still a bit of ramblings going on. But there is just a lot to say. There's a lot of information. I would say this map also just has a lot of positioning in general. So I kind of started out with probably one of the more difficult maps, or the more lengthy maps, because Recharge is quite a standoff style type of map when you have everything that you have in play with this map. So I could talk your ears off for probably hours on so many different possibilities. Let me know what you guys think. If you want to talk more about that right away, maybe come back to it, because I probably want to try to fit more of the the other maps, get some live fire setups, some streets setups as well, and the nades on all those maps, and just everything that's going to be in the comp play moving forward. So just let me know what you guys are thinking for how you feel about the series and what you're looking for next time. So I hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you learned something. Let me know what you all think, and I'll see you all on the next one. Peace, guys.